Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Roby, and MScribe, and today we're going to be talking about the NAT token.
NAT GMI, dude. You're wearing the shirt again.
I am.
I'm glad.
I wear this shirt every day. I never wash it or anything like that.
That's disgusting.
You can't wash the luck, dude.
Yeah, you can't wash the stink away. It's like that's some good stink.
It's something the Patriots should have done.
Oh, why you
Sorry,
have to do
DJ.
that, dude? Right. It's fine. I mean, it's not like they don't have 7 Super Bowls or anything like that, or however many they got.
Sorry, dude. Right when I think I'm over it,
I know.
You pull me right back in.
Just gotta jab the wound a bit. No big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to NAT.
Yeah, anyway.
So
All right,
it's been a while since we've done like an update video on NAT because, you know, if you haven't noticed, we've been heads down builder mode for NAT.FUN, which we've already kind of announced.
What a coincidence of a name, dude.
Yeah, very unoriginal. But if you understand the complexity of the whole architected like vision, I guess, of the whole grand story that factors in NAT, factors in DMT, factors in Bitcoin, factors in ordinals, factors in Solana and ICM markets and all these things, and it packages it up into a nice whole new experience that isn't live yet. And
yeah, so the NAT.FUN isn't live, but the NAT token solves and addresses a very big issue.
Yeah, so it all starts there fundamentally. Yeah. So if you're interested in like, you know, NAT.FUN's trajectory, you know, we're going to speak more on that on the podcast here coming up. But if you're interested in that, it's important to still understand the fundamental alignment to NAT, because one of the things that NAT.FUN is going to offer is a platform that we think the competing launchpad platforms slash ecosystems do not. It's like an actual cohesive mission that actually means something.
Absolutely.
AKA like some actual substance in the room, not like pure like vibes and nothing really, just building on top of nothingness. And that's why the market is like struggling. Yeah. We think.
Yeah. So we're going to go deeper into that in the podcast, which will be out this Saturday. So stay tuned to that. But one of the catalysts that we thought would help NAT in a lot of ways would be Bitcoin going down. It's like there's catalysts in both ways, right? Bitcoin going up, it's still a catalyst because that means it's a bigger value proposition to secure. And then Bitcoin going down is another big catalyst because that means miners are capitulating, they're turning off their rigs, and essentially Bitcoin is becoming a little bit more centralized.
Yeah.
So what's happening with Bitcoin? Well, this is Bitcoin price in gold, and this is a straight linear chart, so it looks uglier than it really is. But you would notice that this is 2017, right? This is when Bitcoin was $20,000, right? That was 13 ounces of gold, and we're back to 13 ounces of gold.
Jesus, that's crazy.
So we've done little to nothing in 9 years.
Clean slate.
Yeah.
Clean sweep.
So that's contributing to the problems. Like in 9 years, that's 2 halvings, dude.
Yeah.
9 years, 2 halvings. We're back, price in gold, exactly where we were 9 years ago. Right? This is a big issue, like huge.
Yes.
Right? Because for every halving, I mean, your revenues as a miner gets cut in half. Right? And so that means that you need to figure out different business models to kind of compensate, or Bitcoin just doubles.
Yeah.
And so
the price doubles.
But the price doubles.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, in 9 years, price in gold, which is the only thing we should be pricing things really, it hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so now it's like, well, but in dollars, right? It's like, okay, dollars is good. We're back to not 2017 all-time highs, we're back to 2021 all-time highs.
Wow.
This is price in dollars. So what does that mean? That means that it takes the same amount of dollars to buy one Bitcoin as it did 5 years ago.
Right, even though like the amount of Bitcoin the miners are earning has been cut in half.
Has been cut in half.
Then.
Yes.
And like the energy or the cost requirements to produce that Bitcoin has gone up, right?
Has gone up, but you know they would say, well, just turn off the rigs and you know Bitcoin's fine. That's like saying, well, let's just reduce the security and everything's gonna be fine. Like,
basically.
Do you ever reduce your security at your house?
I sure don't.
Yeah, nobody does.
That would be like, you know, we just need, you know what? Let's shut down 3 of those aircraft carriers. You know, we got like 9 of them, 10 of them.
Yeah.
3 of them.
Has the United States ever reduced security?
I hope not.
No. As a matter of fact,
They're increasing.
They're
Yeah.
increasing it by 50%. They went from $1 trillion per year to $1.5 trillion per year.
God bless Trump, dude.
Well, $1.5 trillion, dude, for security.
It's keeping us asleep at night. That's for sure. Nicely tucked in, dude.
Yeah.
500 billions of reinforced confidence in our
Yes.
security. Yeah, that's a big deal.
This is kind of what you want with Bitcoin, right?
I think I would imagine.
Yes. If you're going to put your net worth, as many have, right? Michael Saylor, Jack Mallers, a lot of people put their net worth in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You do that because security is on the way up.
Yes.
And this is not indicating that. If anything, it's indicating security is on the way down.
But quantum, dude, you know,
Yeah.
that's the real threat vector in the air. And that's what Michael Saylor's,
Yeah.
directing capital to solve. It's
Sure.
like it's quantum is the real threat, not
It is a real threat.
not the economic design of Bitcoin
Sure,
itself. Like,
sure.
That needs no addressing.
Yeah, both of them are existential, right? If you don't address quantum, everybody's Bitcoin is going to get swiped by
Yeah.
Google or whoever, right?
Yeah, it's another legitimate threat for sure. I'm just adding this
No, for sure.
tone of I don't know sarcasm.
Yeah, yeah. And it's true. It's just that an equal threat, if not more threatful than quantum, is this security budget issue.
So what do you think is the problem? Why are the big figureheads not talking about this too? Like they are all of a sudden
Well-
in agreement. Quantum needs to be dealt with.
Well, because there's a clock for quantum, right? The clock is
It's like a visible one too, right?
It's I mean, Google and Microsoft, they're right there. They're neck and neck.
Chandeliers are glowing.
Yeah,
dude. You can see they're firing
Yeah.
on all cylinders. They're ready to go.
That's right. And so it better not glow enough to start taking my Bitcoin, right? So
Right.
we got to do something about it.
Yeah.
And so that same urgency is kind of happening right now with quantum, as it should. But that equal amount of energy and urgency will happen with this problem. It's inevitable.
Yeah, and it's one of our, we assumed it would take more time. I guess we thought Bitcoin was going to perform better this cycle than it has.
did, yeah.
We did. We had price projections that were near 200K range, like everybody else.
I have
basically
the
did.
rainbow chart like all over my walls, dude.
Yeah, the rainbow chart fucked us again, dude. Not just us, everybody. So that kind of fast forwards our assumptions of it, because we knew it's at some point, the hum stops and people are snapped back to reality. It's like, oh shit, this exponential expectation of exponential price growth is not a reality situation.
I mean, it never was a reality.
No,
It
but you
was
could be delusioned
delusioned, yes.
to believe it. So as long as the price kept doubling every cycle, and it's coming to an end, this delusion, faster than we thought it would.
I mean, that is what you would expect from exponential decay.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
this exponential decay will hit you faster than you would expect. That's the whole point of exponential.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what is all this about? Well, this tweet, so shout out to Django here. It was like, I believe NatGMI solves this, and he's referring to this gentleman's tweet. It says, Bitcoin's catastrophic problem no one is talking about. Bitcoin produces 144 blocks a day. Fees are paid in blocks every 10 minutes. Yesterday, Bitcoin Layer 1 fees around 2.6 Bitcoin for the entire day, 180K. That works out to about 0.018 Bitcoin per block, right? Basically, I don't know, $1,000 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the real cost to secure a block, electricity plus hardware, is often around 150K to 200K. It varies depending on where you are in the country and electricity costs and all that. Depending on the hash rate and energy prices today, miners survive because of the 3.125 Bitcoin block subsidy. Fees do not matter now because the Bitcoin emissions are worth enough to offset the cost. The problem, when Bitcoin reaches 21 million supply, that subsidy goes to zero. So basically in the year 2140, that subsidy is now 0 Bitcoin per block. And then now you're really relying on fees, which fees are completely negligible. At that point, fees must pay the miners to break even long-term. Bitcoin needs tens of millions per day in L1 fees. Yesterday's was sub 200K.
Ouch.
So I own Bitcoin. I want it to succeed, but pretending this isn't a real issue won't solve it at all. And this has 325,000 impressions.
Yeah, those last two lines alone, it deserves an applause. It's like, I own Bitcoin. I want it to succeed, but just because of that, I'm not gonna pretend like this problem doesn't exist.
It's okay.
Which
I
is,
mean,
yeah, that's the majority of people who do own Bitcoin. Like they just don't want to be confronted with any scenario where there's like a problem, right? Because
yeah, I think people want a safe haven, and I get it. It's just there are no safe havens.
yeah, and they want comfort, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be inundated with problem because then that begs for somebody to come up with some kind of solution, and that requires extra thought and
dialogue.
energy and
I gotta talk to people.
contention, debate, all this
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like, what the fuck, dude? I just wanted to park my money and retire.
I totally agree. I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
not
it's actually a safer position to have that everything that you have in your life could go away. It could in multiple kinds of ways. So you need to take that assumption as the truth and understand that you need to actually actively protect those things actively.
yeah, I agree.
And that includes Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin has a real problem and people are waking up to it. I don't know why they're waking up to it now versus like 10 years ago. This was still a problem 10 years ago. But but it's coming up. So what? What are you going to do about it? Well, that's the NAT token.
Yeah, something has been done.
It has been done. November 20th, 2023, it launched. Completely free and fair mint. 20,000 people minted every single block of Bitcoin over 7 days. There is no team supply, no VC supply. There's no hyper concentration of this token anywhere.
Yeah.
And it is based off of the block data of Bitcoin and is being directed to miners to the tune of 60% of Bitcoin hash power is supporting the NAT token already right now.
Correct. Yeah, and actively working to like distribute this thing to their pool participants, right? So it's getting ingrained into like the systemic processing of what keeps the economy flows of Bitcoin,
Yeah, so then the question is, well, how does it work? Well, it's a second subsidy to Bitcoin. The value proposition of the NAT token is that it doesn't decay every 4 years. There isn't an exponential decay like there is for the Bitcoin subsidy. That decays every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does that mean? That means that after 2140, or when charts look like this, you have a consistent, steady supply of revenue.
Right.
And so that means that it's a consistent, steady supply of security. That's what that means. Revenue is security.
Mm-hmm.
So so now that we have this second subsidy that has a different mechanic than Bitcoin, we can maintain Bitcoin as scarce. Right, because before this solution, there was offers on the table about solving this problem, and one of those offers was, let's make Bitcoin infinite.
Yeah,
and it's funny to me. It's like the first time humanity discovers scarcity, right? The first time ever. The first thing they want to do is make it infinite.
Well, I don't know if it's the first thing they want to do, but
well,
it's either like you accept that as a potential reality of what we have to do in order to keep this sustainable.
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, let's go create some new chain, call it something else, and it has like
Bitcoin
a whole different,
Gold.
Yeah.
Bitcoin
whatever.
Diamond. Those are real blockchains.
Caspa.
Yeah.
Right? Like whatever. There's a lot of chains out there. Like their value premise is like kind of like rooted to this. It's like Bitcoin has some core issues, so let's spin off a new chain and let's not replicate those flaws in our design, and let's build some momentum off of that.
Yeah,
and it's
totally
working.
fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you could do that.
But that's not like an actual solution.
Yeah, that doesn't solve Bitcoin problem. Yeah. So Bitcoin is very specific, and you can't just like create another chain. I mean, you could, but the thing that you would need to achieve if you wanted to compete with Bitcoin is you better allocate hash power comparable to Bitcoin. The energy expenditure on your chain better be competing with Bitcoin, and then now you have a real Bitcoin competitor. But there's none. There's none even close, like in the water, dude.
Yeah, it's hard to really illustrate how not close it is. I mean, there is ways to do it, and we've done it on our podcast before.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it again someday. But it's like really not close. It's like it's as not close as me being able to see like a bacteria just like squiggling around on my table.
Right.
that's how not close we are to one another.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so I that's why, in a sense, Bitcoin can't be touched, and I think it's a better idea for humanity's sake and the industry at large's sake to really hone in on solving Bitcoin's problems and not like leveraging the problem as some sort of
Sure.
like, you know,
Catalyst.
startup premise for
Yeah.
some fork or some clone.
Which again, it's okay. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
yeah, sure,
totally
sure.
good to build a better Bitcoin, right? And try to attract developers and all that's totally fine. However, the point is that Bitcoin has a very specific use case. It is considered a macrochip. So compared to a microchip is designed to be smaller, cheaper, faster, better, more efficient. And that's why we have thin laptops and very fast laptops, because of a microchip and it's like, you know, design. But Bitcoin is a macrochip. It's the exact opposite. It's supposed to get bigger, more power hungry, and more harder to destroy, and all over the planet, meaning decentralized. That is the point. You want that as Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and so other chains don't do that. They are not focused on that, and they will never focus on that, because that's the purpose of Bitcoin, is to do that. But the problem is you can't really sustain that activity because the security budget keeps going down every 4 years, or the price is not keeping up.
Right, so the incentives are out of whack, basically, to keep this like consumption, this like Bitcoin is a Kirby, for energy. Like,
it has to.
Just sucking energy.
Yeah, and that is a feature and not a glitch. It is supposed to do that. You want to consume more energy, because more energy consumption means higher security. And if it's higher security, that means I can put in all my net worth into it and feel safe.
Ultimately, that's the value of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
it's just like, you know, we're witnessing AI. Yeah, you could see the value outputs of AI, but collectively, the one metric to keep your eyes on is like how much energy does AI consume, and that's why we're going to space. Apparently,
yes,
we're going to the moon.
Yeah,
in 10 years to build like space launchers or satellite like slingshots.
Slingshots, yeah.
It's like, go get them.
Yeah,
satellite. Go get some of that solar ray.
Yes,
and that's what you want. That's what humanity will equate to values, right? AI is consuming a ton of solar energy, therefore it's tremendously valuable.
Yeah.
Bitcoin should be operating under the same lens.
It needs to compete, right? If AI is going to be scooping up all that energy, Bitcoin needs to compete, because if it doesn't, it is becoming less secure over time, because now electricity is being allocated to other places that can be directed to the Bitcoin network and attack it, right? And so it needs to compete. The way you do that is incentivize miners to continue mining Bitcoin and forget about supporting the AI race. Right. That you incentivize that.
So NAT is a new incentive vehicle. So who's gonna buy it? It always gets to there, right? Anytime you're like explaining NAT to a new person, it's like, okay, here's this token that now miners have a new incentive.
Sure.
But they're not going to buy it, right? They're just selling it.
Yes, yeah.
So then who's buying the thing? How does the value appreciate over time?
Yeah, the people buying this thing are the people who understand the math.
The problem.
Yeah,
pretty much.
In the same way, it's like, well, if miners are just going to keep selling it, isn't the number always going to go down? Well, the reason why you have Bitcoin in your wallet is because a miner sold it, and now it's worth over $1 trillion. So how can you say that selling the thing means bad?
Yeah.
Right? So that's not what's happening. So what the value proposition of the NAT is, you're holding the hedge against the problem of Bitcoin, which is the declining security budget.
Yeah.
If you believe that is a real problem, then you just hold the solution, right? Because then people will wake up to the solution and be like, oh, this thing is undervalued. Let me go ahead and buy it. And then once they buy it, number goes up, and then it helps support Bitcoin.
Yeah. So it's like you're making a bet in a sense, like just the way like Michael Saylor all of a sudden has, I guess, received enough pressure from, you know, his surroundings, Wall Street, whatever, his lenders. It's like, it's like, hold on, we got to pump the brakes on this MicroStrategy thing, because all of a sudden everyone's telling me quantum is about to nuke Satoshi.
Yeah.
And all of us, right? So what are you going to do about this, Michael Saylor, who you've just CTO'd Bitcoin with all your wealth and all of our wealth? So all of a sudden he's like, all right, I got a plan, right? We're going to allocate a bunch of capital to get a bunch of engineers to solve this problem. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a vehicle here called NAT that's like, if you're placing a bet that at some point in the future, there's going to be enough pressure for the subsidy problem, just like there is today for the quantum threat.
Yeah.
And similar like ecosystem activities will ensue to address this problem. And in this situation, it's so easy. It's frictionless. It's buy NAT.
Yeah, it is.
Because that's how you solve the problem. Otherwise, you'd have to like re-engineer some whole new thing.
Yeah, and you got to convince a bunch of people. It's like, no, do it this way, no, do it that way. And that has an immaculate generation.
Just like Bitcoin.
Just like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's nobody that owns more NAT than anybody else. It was just completely free and fair mint. You cannot recreate these things.
Yeah, that's really hard to do, right?
And it happened almost 2.5 years ago already.
Yeah, so whatever that point in time is where like the pressures of the reality start to hit basically the figureheads, and they got to like respond and do something, right? Because their lenders, their investors are like, yo.
Well, what about the security budget issue now, Michael?
Yeah, I got a memo telling me Bitcoin's in trouble again. It's like, can you do something?
Yeah.
CTO? You know? Yeah. And it's like, okay, let me do some research. And it's like, oh shit, there's this NAT thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the bet you're placing. Like that will happen at some point in time because it's inevitable that pressure will come about.
It is.
It's a little harder to predict when, you know.
Yeah, so let's make a prediction here. Not on necessarily when that's going to happen, but the order of operations. So Michael Saylor comes in, it's like, here's $1 billion invested in figuring out this quantum thing. And it's pretty easy. There's quantum resistant addresses. We just need to verify how resistant they are. And if they are, you just implement it, right? So there's that. And then it's going to be, okay, well, we've secured our addresses, right? And everybody who's awake, they've secured their addresses, but Satoshi didn't. He hasn't woken up and moved 1 million Bitcoin into a quantum resistant address. What's going to happen when Google, with his chandelier, comes and takes Bitcoin's or Satoshi's Bitcoin? What do? Should we censor Satoshi's like Bitcoin, or do we just let it happen? And that's going to be the conversation. So it's basically going to evolve or devolve into censorship or no censorship. And then finally they'll talk about the security budget issue and what do we do about it.
Yeah. Well, what an interesting time that will be for sure, you know.
And it's inevitable. It's coming already. People are already talking about it, as you can see.
Yeah, people are waking up. It's interesting.
And he's already offered us to come on his channel to talk about it, so we're always down.
Yeah, definitely need to do that for sure.
All right, well, hopefully that breaks it down.
Yep, but you're going to hear that over and over and over and over coming from us.
That was at least the millionth time I explained that.
Get ready for 1,000,002, like 2 million, dude.
Yeah,
because this is our life moving forward until they hear us, right?
Yeah.
And again, shout out to the community who's pushing along with us, because really that is obviously the only mechanism to enacting like or eroding the complacency, right? Like the ecosystem has been complacent to quantum, I guess, for a while now. It took enough festering of the awareness of this thing that's a looming threat to, again, hit the figureheads. Like, once the pressure mounts to some level, it's like, all right, something has to be done, or else my incentives are in danger.
Yeah.
So it's like similar situation will replay itself for this.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to happen.
So that means let the festering begin.
Yeah.
Right. There's a massive elephant in the room that a lot of people just can't see for whatever reason. So we gotta there it is.
Make it obvious. Point at it.
It's right there, guys. How are you not seeing this?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for us. We talked about the NAT token and people waking up to the problem of Bitcoin, which it's okay, right? It's okay to have problems because there are engineers to solve them, and it's fine. Everything's fine.
Correct.
If there are any questions, please let us know in the comment section below. I appreciate you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.